We're going to review a little bit for the quiz that you're going to take right now. So the first section that we worked on was the parts of a circle dictionary. So I'm not going to go over all of this, but just remember a chord is where you have the endpoints on the circle and nothing's hanging off of the side. The secant is where you are having a line going off one or either sides. When we talk about a minor arc, remember that you only need 2 letters for the minor arc, and this is going to be something that's less than 180 degrees. So on this diagram right here, you could choose RN, for example. And the way you would write that would be capital R, capital N, with the arc over it. And then a major arc is going to be where we have an arc that's greater than 180 degrees, and you want to put 3 letters and also make sure that these are going to be greater than 180. So if I look over here at this, again, I would say, let's see, I could go, I would make it as big as possible to make sure you get the right one. You could do, let's see, Y, W, U. So then you're going to do Y, W, U, and we want to have 3 letters over that. Okay, after parts of the circle, we had area and circumference of a circle. If you remember on our formula sheet, we have the area formula for a circle is going to be area is equal to pi r squared. And then for the circumference, we could look at this one of 2 ways. The circumference is equal to 2 pi r, or we can say circumference is equal to pi times d. Now we know that 2 times r is the same thing as d. So depending on the situation you're in, you can use one of them, or you could, if you get a radius, just multiply it by 2 to get the diameter and put it in there. You can decide, but these are our formulas. Okay, so this example I wanted to look at very quickly, just a setup for it. This was like the one that we did for the Zonk game. If you, I'm looking at number 13, if it says find the diameter of a circle with an area of 615.75, if they tell you the area is a number, then you're going to take that number and you're going to set it equal to the formula for area, which is pi r squared. To solve for r, we're going to divide both sides by pi, and then r squared here is equal to 195.99. Remember to figure out what r is. I'm going to take the square root of both sides, and r then is 13.99. Now, once you have the radius, you need to go back and read what do we actually want to determine. So here it asks for the diameter. So if I know the radius, I can find the diameter by just taking 13.99 times 2. What if they ask you for the circumference? Well, then you have the radius already, so you're just going to say their circumference is equal to 2 pi r and substitute in your value for r. So just be careful to read what they're asking. All right, so next is arc measures and arc lengths. I'm going to talk about arc measures first. For arc measures, we are dealing with this concept of central angles, where our angle is in the vertex, or the vertex of the angle is in the center of the circle. If this is 84 degrees, then this arc measure is also 84 degrees. They are going to be congruent. So the real challenge with these problems is usually just determining either the angle measurements or the arc measures, whichever ones they give you. So here for this example, I want to look at this and I see I could have vertical angles. I also have diameters, so I've got 180 degrees on either side of the diameters. Here I also have a 90-degree angle, so all the way around the circle is going to be 90 degrees. I just need to pay attention to all of that and fill in what they're asking. So here, if I have 19 here, this is going to be a vertical angle, so that's 19 degrees. I see I've got a 90-degree angle right there. So I can take 90 minus 19, and I get 71 degrees right there. Now I'm going to look and see what else. So I have a diameter right here. So 180 minus my 19 right there is going to give me 161 degrees. And then of course this is 90 degrees right here. So now let's go and figure out what are they asking for. So PQ, remember if it has two letters it's going to be a minor arc, so we don't want it to be larger than 180 degrees. So for PQ, I'm just going to take that arc right there. If this is 71 degrees, then that's also 71 degrees. Next, I'm going to look at SR. This is SR, and that's 161 degrees. And then we have a major arc here, so make sure that you follow along. Go Q, R, T. Just follow the letters. So we're going to add up 161 plus that 19 plus the other 19. That should give us 199 degrees. And then we've got PSR. So PSR goes this way. Again, make sure that you go in the order that the letters are. So that's 90 plus 19 plus 161. So that gives us 270 degrees. Or we could just look and see that that's 90. So here this would just be 360 minus 90, which is 270. And then PS, that's a minor arc. So we want to make sure we go this way with it. And that would be 90 plus 19, which is 109 degrees. Our next concept is arc length. We have a formula for that. Our formula says that we are going to take the length is equal to x times circumference divided by 360. And we're going to look at this one right here, 11. So that means if I'm trying to find just an arc measure of a certain piece of the circle, I take whatever those degrees are, I divide it by 360, which is the total. That essentially gives me a ratio. And then I'm going to multiply it by C, because C is the distance all the way around. And I just want to know what that portion is. On this one, they want to find the length of NMP. So again, make sure that you follow through here. And I can see that I have 180 degrees here, so I can take 180 and I can subtract the 162 from that and get 18 degrees for this. And then this are vertical angles, so this is also 18. So now I can just determine the total for these angles here by adding up 162 plus 18 and 18. So I know in my formula that that's going to be, when I add that up, it's 198. And then I'm going to divide it by 360. So the only thing I have left to do is determine my circumference. So here they tell me that NR is 8. So I'm going to just substitute that in. I'm going to use 2 pi r because they gave me the radius. And so I would take 2 times pi times 8, which is 16 pi, plug it in. Up here, I would do the whole problem, and then at the end, just round it. All right, lastly, we are going to look at chords and arcs, and I put the homeworks that these were covering. Parts of the circle was really in homework number 1. So with chords and arcs, we want to pay attention again to the fact that if my chords are congruent, then these arcs are congruent. If they tell me that these arcs are congruent, then the chords are congruent. The other thing that we know is that if we have equidistance from the center to the chord, so in other words, this is congruent to this right here from the center to that chord, then just based on that, I know that my chords are congruent, and then also my arcs are congruent. We also found that with this 90-degree angle, if you have these perpendicular lines here, then this bisects the chord, so these two are congruent, and your arcs are also congruent. Okay, looking at number 4 here, they tell us that our chords are congruent, so then we know our arcs are congruent. We are going to set our two expressions equal to each other, so we would take 5x plus 6 is equal to 11x minus 72. You're going to solve for x on that. Once you figure out x is equal to, in this case it would be 13, go back and read what am I actually being asked here. So I want to know this arc RS, so then I'm going to take this x value and I'm going to plug it in to the expression for RS. So for that, and so my answer here would be 71 degrees. All right, that covers everything. On the quiz, if I didn't stipulate to round to the nearest tenth or to the nearest hundredth, either one is fine. So don't get hung up about that. I just want to make sure that you guys have the right answers, so whichever way you do decide to round will be great. All right, I hope you do well.